The world was stunned, caught completely off guard by a single announcement that would send shockwaves through every corner of the globe. On January 14, 2026, as the world's attention was fixed on routine headlines, a date that would be etched into history arrived, with little warning. Beijing, in a move as sudden as it was bold, announced an immediate and total halt to all exports of high-purity rare earth elements, slamming the brakes on a supply chain that powered the modern world. The decree specifically named neodymium, terbium, and dysprosium, minerals that are the lifeblood of everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to wind turbines and advanced military hardware. This was no backroom negotiation or quiet policy shift. It was a public, defiant statement broadcast to the world, leaving no room for doubt about China's intentions. The global tech industry froze in disbelief, as factories and research labs scrambled to assess the fallout. This was economic warfare on a scale rarely seen, far more than a simple trade spat or diplomatic disagreement. The semiconductor industry, especially the makers of advanced microchips that drive everything from AI to defense systems, was the clear and immediate target of this unprecedented embargo. Financial markets reeled in real time, with tech and auto stocks plunging as investors realized the scale of the disruption. Billions were wiped from company valuations in a matter of hours. For years, analysts had warned about the fragility of global supply chains, but overnight, those warnings became a harsh reality as ships idled and factories braced for shortage. China cited national security as the reason for the embargo, but to the rest of the world, it was a calculated act of retaliation, a clear message that China was willing to weaponize its dominance. For decades, industries across the globe had relied on a steady flow of cheap Chinese rare earths, never truly imagining that the tap could be turned off so abruptly. The embargo exposed a dangerous dependency, one that threatened the very foundation of global industry, from consumer electronics to renewable energy and beyond. The silence from assembly lines was about to be deafening, echoing through economies and communities worldwide. Beijing's move didn't just disrupt supply chains, it sent a clear signal that the balance of global power had shifted and that China now held a critical card. The fate of the digital world, our devices, our data, our very way of life, was suddenly and inextricably tied to the Earth's raw materials and to the nation that controlled them. The global trade dance had stopped mid-step, and China now controlled the music, dictating the tempo of recovery and the terms of negotiation. For tech giants and world leaders alike, the question was no longer if a crisis would come, but how to survive the one that had just begun, one that would test alliances, economies, and the resilience of entire industries. The world had entered a new era, one defined not just by innovation and technology, but by the raw power of resources, and the nations bold enough to wield them. The rules of the game had changed, and the world was left scrambling to catch up. At the center of the storm stood ASML, a company whose name rarely makes headlines, yet whose influence quietly shapes the modern world. This Dutch firm, unknown to most outside the tech industry, is absolutely vital to all. Every smartphone, computer, and data center owes something to ASML's innovations. ASML's extreme ultraviolet lithography machines are the only tools on Earth capable of etching the impossibly tiny circuits that power the world's most advanced chips. Without these machines, the relentless march of Moore's law would grind to a halt. Each of these machines is a technological marvel, the size of a city bus and costing more than $200 million apiece. But their complexity hides a critical dependency. They rely on rare earth magnets sourced almost exclusively from China. These custom neodymium iron boron magnets, enhanced with rare elements like terbium and dysprosium, are irreplaceable. No alternative materials or suppliers can match their unique properties at the scale and precision required. Without these magnets, ASML's machines, and by extension the entire global chip industry, would grind to a halt. Production lines would fall silent, and the world's digital infrastructure would be at risk. When China imposed its embargo, the move was surgical, targeting the heavy rare earths essential for these magnets, and sending shockwaves through the global supply chain. The result was immediate and devastating. ASML's production and maintenance operations worldwide were crippled, with assembly lines stalling and workers left in limbo. In just a matter of hours, billions of dollars were wiped from ASML's market value. Investors and analysts watched in disbelief as the company's stock plummeted. The company's strategic vulnerability was laid bare for all to see. What was once a hidden risk had become a glaring weakness, exposed on the world stage. Suddenly, ASML's ability to supply industry giants like TSMC, Samsung, and Intel was in serious doubt. The entire global tech ecosystem was thrown into uncertainty. The future of computing, artificial intelligence, and autonomous systems, all of it ran through ASML. And now, with China's embargo, that future was blocked at the source. This crisis revealed a profound truth. The cutting edge of technology is built not just on human ingenuity, but on the most basic elements of the Earth itself. The world's digital ambitions, it turned out, now depended as much on geology and the politics of resource control as on the genius of engineers and scientists. The crisis that would soon grip the world began with a single dramatic confrontation over a Dutch tech company, Nexperia. Once a symbol of European innovation, Nexperia had, in recent years, come under the ownership of China's Wingtech, a move that quietly shifted the balance of power in the global technology sector. As China's influence in Europe's high-tech industries grew, Western governments started to worry. Behind closed doors, officials debated the risks of allowing a strategic asset like Nexperia to remain under foreign control. The fear was not just about competition, it was about security, sovereignty, and the future of Europe's technological independence. In late 2025, after months of tense deliberations and mounting public pressure, the Dutch government made a bold move. Citing national security concerns, they ordered the forced sale of Nexperia, stripping it from its Chinese owners. The decision sent shockwaves through boardrooms and embassies alike. In Beijing, the reaction was immediate and furious. Chinese officials condemned the move as outright theft, accusing the West of hypocrisy and economic aggression. The diplomatic fallout was swift, with threats and warnings exchanged at the highest levels. China's answer was as calculated as it was devastating: a rare earth embargo. By restricting the export of these critical minerals, essential for everything from smartphones to fighter jets, China struck at the very heart of the global economy. The world watched as financial markets tumbled and supply chains began to unravel, with early estimates predicting losses in the hundreds of billions. The West had seized a single chipmaker, but China's retaliation threatened the entire technological ecosystem. Suddenly, the flow of microchips, electronics, and advanced machinery was at risk, exposing just how interconnected and vulnerable the world had become. The logic was brutal and simple. For the loss of one factory, the world lost access to the materials powering its most advanced machines. Production lines ground to a halt, and the silence in once bustling factories echoed the severity of the crisis. What began as a regional dispute over a single company quickly spiraled into a global supply chain catastrophe. Logistics hubs descended into chaos. Trade routes were disrupted, and consumers faced empty shelves as the ripple effects spread. China's response was more than just an act of revenge. It was a calculated demonstration of asymmetric power. By leveraging its dominance in rare earth minerals, China showed the world that economic warfare in the 21st century could be just as crippling as any military conflict. The world learned a harsh lesson. In this new era, the true stakes of global power are measured not only in money or military might, but in minerals, those hidden elements that underpin modern life and technology. A single corporate seizure had triggered a worldwide crisis, forcing leaders into emergency meetings and sending shockwaves through economies everywhere. The sense of urgency was palpable, as nations scrambled to secure their own supplies and rethink their strategies. The cost of strategic moves now echoed across continents, reminding everyone that in a world so deeply connected, the consequences of a single decision can be felt in every corner of the globe. Europe's automotive sector felt the embargo's pain first and hardest. Modern cars rely on thousands of chips and rare earth magnets, both now in short supply. Within weeks, Volkswagen, BMW, and Stellantis shut down major plants. The reason? A sudden, severe shortage of semiconductors and high-performance magnets. Electric vehicle production, the heart of Europe's green ambitions, stalled. The ripple effects devastated suppliers, triggering layoffs and economic pain across the continent. Unemployment in manufacturing hubs soared, putting governments under pressure. The cost of strategic autonomy was proving devastatingly high. Global supply chains, already fragile, fractured completely. ASML's paralysis sent shockwaves through chipmakers worldwide. The just-in-time system collapsed, revealing a single point of failure: China's rare earths. The world learned in real time how deep its dependency ran. The lesson was harsh. One mineral bottleneck could halt entire industries. Why not just find a new supplier? The answer lies in the unique properties of rare earths. They're not rare in the ground, but are incredibly hard and dirty to refine to the ultra-high purity needed for tech. China invested in this complex polluting process while others looked away. ASML's machines are calibrated for magnets made with 99.999% pure material. Anything less, and they fail. Swapping in lower-grade components isn't an option. The risk of catastrophic failure is too high. Even if new mines open tomorrow, building the processing plants would take years. There are no quick fixes, no substitutes with the same properties. The world had engineered itself into a corner, and China held the only key. The story of rare earths is, at its core, a story about magnets. Neodymium iron-boron magnets are the strongest known, powering everything from smartphones to wind turbines, but they lose strength at high temperatures, unless fortified with dysprosium and terbium. These heavy rare earths make high-performance magnets possible in EVs, military systems, and ASML's machines. China's true dominance is in these scarce additives, not just neodymium. over 90% of the world's supply comes from China's southern mines. This was no accident, it was a long-term strategy. When China cut off supply, the world's ability to make heat-resistant magnets vanished overnight. The impact was immediate and severe, halting progress in every advanced industry. The magnetic heart of technology now beat to China's rhythm. China's rare earth dominance is no accident. It's the result of decades of state-driven strategy. From mining to refining to manufacturing, China controls every step. The West, chasing profits, offshored the dirty work and lost control. China's scale is staggering. Massive mines, refineries, and research centers form an ecosystem no rival can match. Expertise, labor, and intellectual property are all concentrated there. Attempts to compete have failed. Low prices and market manipulation drove foreign rivals out. Even if new mines open elsewhere, most ore still goes to China for processing. The world faces the consequences of strategic neglect. China built a great wall of minerals, and everyone else is locked out. The bottleneck isn't mining, it's the refining, and China owns it. After the embargo, Western leaders promised resource independence and poured billions into new projects. But reality set in fast. Building a non-Chinese supply chain is a marathon, not a sprint. New mines require years of surveys, permits, and environmental reviews. Rare earth mining is toxic and unpopular. Few want it in their backyard. Processing is even harder, with strict regulations making it costly and slow. Substitute materials and recycling are still years from commercial use. Industries can't redesign their core technologies overnight. For now, there are no viable alternatives to China's high-purity rare earths. The scramble for independence is real, but the solution is far away. The crisis of January 2026 exposed the fragility of the global tech ecosystem. The West's faith in economic interdependence was shattered. Supply chains once seen as efficient became weapons of national power. The disruption to ASML and the auto industry won't be fixed soon. Rebuilding rare earth capacity outside China will take years. In the meantime, shortages and delays will slow technological progress. The world's most advanced economies are now hostages to Beijing's strategy. Globalization is giving way to rival economic blocs and hard choices. The key question is no longer efficiency, but trust. The cost of resilience is high, but the cost of dependency is higher. China took 30 years to build its dominance. The rest of the world will need at least a decade to catch up. This isn't a temporary disruption. It's the start of a new era, where the Earth's raw materials dictate the fate of digital dreams. The world must now reckon with the true price of its technological ambitions.